Hello guys and welcome back to TNT Madness. Today we're going to be looking at a super tiny slab buster. So this is essentially just a really super compact version of my old mini slab buster. And that thing was really tiny already, so this thing is just pretty much just a much smaller version of that. And this is just a general slab buster that you can just use by itself or in association with a separate sand stacker or a hybrid cannon. Of course, most people won't use sort of slab busters on their own because there are cannons like Leon Arch cannons, but sometimes people like have hybrid cannons and then they randomly come into contact with like the next wall has like 10 slabs and they couldn't find that earlier, and then it'll take a ton of TNT and a ton of time and just to use your hybrid cannon to actually break those slabs. So in an instance where you have like several walls that you have to get through and you need some sort of long range small slab buster, then this is going to be the most ideal thing for you. It's very specific in what it does, but it's good to have something like this in your arsenal as it can really save a lot of time in most situations. And this thing for the most part is really tiny and really resourceful, but it is still quite long range for some reason. But that's just because it's got quite a lot of dispensers and quite a small amount of space. So this thing is quite good, and it can blow up 10 plus slabs if you're lucky enough, and it can blow up quite a wide area too. But this cannon I think is quite good, so let's actually have a look at this thing in action. So now on to firing this thing. So what we have here is a massive wall with slabs that are 20 high and just bedrock walls, so that way we can just see that the slabs blow up and not actually the thing behind it. So this thing is quite variable, which just pretty much means that it is very different in each shot. So like one shot it could be 10, one shot it could be 15, one shot it could be 5, an unlikely chance. But that's not really the biggest issue, but it is just slightly annoying if you're trying to do very precise cannoning. And one advantage it has is it is very horizontal. Also, one other thing that I've done in here that may be good or bad, depending on your percent or how you perceive this, is on here I've got a lot of delay that's not being used just because of the actual range at which this is. It's only about 70 blocks, so I don't really need tons of delay. If you're firing this like 200 blocks, you may need all this, but it essentially means you can just place the redstone torch here and only use 2 redstone repeaters to get slightly less than this and make it one thinner and use a lot less repeaters. So that's just an idea which I'll probably go over in the tutorial, but anyway, now on to firing. So I just had an issue, but I did fire this thing, and as you can see it made a moderate clump. Destroyed about 11 blocks, and as you can see it mostly went straight down and then it blew up around here. So of course, since it can go down and blow up, this also means it can go up and blow up, which is when it destroys only like 5 slabs. So just be aware if you are building this that you may have some issues. You may have to fire it 2 or 3 times if they have something like 20 slabs, and if you're lucky you might have to fire it once. But all in all, I still think it's a good cannon, so let's go have a look at the redstone. So now onto the redstone. So what we have here is we have our button, and then this will go out 2 directions, or technically 3 directions, because this redstone actually powers this repeater. But what this does is it activates all these 12 dispensers simultaneously by going out this direction and this, and since this redstone is powering this block, it will activate the ones below it. So that's very self-explanatory, and then the TNT will just stay in this general area. Of course, if you have a bigger cannon, then you will need like a compressor thing to push it all the way up to the front, but since it's staying in a very close area to actually the propellant, you don't really have to worry about, because generally when you have dispensers they're at this angle, but with this one we managed to fit one in here, which is really helpful because we can make this even smaller than it was before. So what happens next is we then go under this button thing, which we have a 4-tick repeater, and then we have 2 more here, and then 3 more along here, and a redstone torch. So this totals to a total of 25 tick delay, and if you add this redstone torch at the front, it is 26 delay before, or total delay before everything fires, which for something like this is actually quite big. So what this does after this fires off is this flickers on and off for 15 ticks, and we need that because this redstone button or wooden button is 15 ticks and a stone one would be 10. So this means it can pump out about 3 more TNT per dispenser, so 6 instead of less. And of course, more TNT in this barrel means more slab busting essentially. Of course, once you get too much, it will just fire everywhere and be super chaotic, but then it requires more on luck. So what we have here is what I think is a great balance between how much TNT we need and just how small it is. So because of all this, we've now got a really nice cannon that can easily slab bust, and it's absolutely tiny. So anyway, now let's get on with the tutorial. So now on to the tutorial. So what you're going to need is a 6x4 area, but a few things to note is that this cannon works in 1.7 and 1.8 pretty much identically, but if you want to have the same range that you do in 1.7, I'd recommend that you change the slab to a pressure plate, stone pressure plate, and a fence just to get the same range, because in 1.8 the TNT mechanics are a bit stuffed up, but I doubt you'll be building it there anyway, because most servers are 1.7 TNT mechanics. Even mine, which still runs 1.8.8 paper spigot, and it still somehow has 1.7 TNT mechanics. So anyway, that doesn't matter. Now onto the tutorial, the proper one. What you're going to need is some building blocks, 14 dispensers, 9 redstone, 2 redstone torches, 6 repeaters, a water source block, a wooden button, it has to be wooden, and a slab. So what you're going to need, what we are going to do first is just place down our dispensers. So your very front bit here is going to be your main barrel of the cannon. So what you want to do is you want to go up by 1 block and fill up 1 block. Place 1 block up here. So our aim for this is to make the smallest possible barrel. So this thing is only 1.5 blocks high, so we're going to have a very tight barrel, so therefore it's going to be extremely accurate. So the next thing I want to do is place down 2 dispensers here, another 2 here, followed by a little ring round like so, and then you just want to place some blocks here, whether they're glass or not, in that spot there. Now what I want to do is place a block here, and then a little bit of like a ring pattern going around the side here, and then you want to place it going all the way up to here, followed by a block that goes up like so. Actually here. It is actually up here, because up here we have our redstone torch being placed. So you want to place your little scaffolding like so, or where your block's going to be placed like so, and then another block here. So what you want to do is place redstone all the way along here. Make sure it doesn't go on this block here, or else it will connect to this and break it. Then you want to place redstone along here, and place your water source block really anywhere here if you're playing 1.7. 1.8 definitely place in the back, because the TNT will flow down to the slab, and that is just good because it gives you more range. Then you want to place redstone on top of these 2 dispensers, followed by a redstone torch. Before you do this, make sure that none of your dispensers are full of TNT. Always do that at the end, just before you're about to test it. So now what you want to do is place down 3 redstone repeaters set to vortex delay, and you may change this later depending on your range. Then you want to place 2 more along here like so, if I stopped falling, and then 1 at the very back here. And after that, you're going to place your button, and before you do anything, I'd recommend that you press the button to test that this goes off and that this goes round and this flickers a bunch. So as you can see, I missed the redstone there, because you're supposed to place that, because this creates a redstone torch burnout tick delay thing. The reason we only have 1 is because the torch won't actually burn out in the time it takes for this to actually work. There's a lot of testing and a lot of myths around these torches, but since it is already on, it will not burn out, or off I mean. It won't burn out because it is already off, and since even if it does burn out, which it won't, it will turn off anyway, so it will reset it. So you do not have to worry about that being an issue, but it just makes it a hell of a lot smaller than a comparative clock and a lot cheaper. So now that we have done this, all you have to do is fill up all these with TNT, and you have built yourself a slab buster. You can honestly build these in like 2-3 minutes if you have the resources, and this tutorial is probably less than free anyway. So anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like, and if you really loved it, then subscribe. Anyway, goodbye from TNT Madness.